Welcome to 6th grade science podcast from Bearden Middle School. Actually, this is coming to you live from Mrs. Brown's science room. Today we're going to be talking about the scientific method. We have been studying the scientific method for several days now, and just to refresh your memory, the first thing that a scientist does is has a problem or asks a question. With that question, the scientist makes observations and then forms a hypothesis. As you remember, a hypothesis is an idea. It's a light bulb. It's an if-then statement. If I do this, then this is going to happen. After I form my hypothesis, I have to test my hypothesis or do an experiment to see if my hypothesis is true or not true. Once I do that, I go through and analyze my results. In analyzing my results, I may use charts, tables, or graphs. After I have analyzed those results, I draw conclusions. And those conclusions either support my hypothesis, in which case I can communicate those results, or maybe doesn't, in which case I may communicate my results again and then test my hypothesis a second time and create a new experiment. I want to draw attention to making observations though. Something I really want you to remember is that when we make observations, it is not just looking at something. It may be hearing something, smelling something, tasting, or touching something.
Okay, our problem for the day is which color light will make the plant grow taller. We have a green plant and we want to make it grow taller. I've done some research and I've decided to use a green light because plants are green, and I've decided to use a red light because heat from the sun is red, and then I've decided to use a yellow light because that's the color of the sun. Okay, actually the sun has many colors, rainbow colors, spectrum. Okay, so we're going to observe, we're going to use green light, red light, and yellow light, and we're going to see which plant is going to grow the tallest.
Alright, so now that I've made my observations, I need to form a hypothesis. I have a green light, a red light, and a yellow light. So I have to make a decision. Which light do I think is going to help my plants grow taller? You know what? I think my red light's going to help them grow taller because it's red. That's the light they use in those restaurants to keep the food warm. And when it's warm and there's lots of light, things grow bigger. So my hypothesis is going to be if I use a red light to grow a plant, I almost forgot a key word. Remember, a hypothesis has to be an if-then statement. Then it will grow taller than plants in other lighting. So, I have my hypothesis. What's going to be my independent variable? I have to remember that it starts with an I, and an independent variable is the thing I, as a scientist, change. So what am I changing? I'm changing the light. I'm going to have a green light, a red light, and a yellow light. So the light color is the variable I'm going to change in my experiment. My dependent variable is the part at the end that I measure. So what am I measuring? I'm measuring how tall the plants are going to be. So it's plant height. Now, my control. The control is what happens in normal circumstances. Where are plants normally? Where do we find them? I guess outside. So it would be a plant grown in sunlight. And last, I have to think about the constants. And these are really important. This is the part that stays the same. So I need the same plants. I need the same soil. I'll need to use the same amount of water. And maybe most importantly, it's the same amount of time in the light. Now that I have my hypothesis and I've determined my variables, I think I'm ready to test. So I've tested my plants. I've grown them in the 3 different colors of lighting, and now I need to measure my results. This is where I find my dependent variable, the height of the plant. So I'm going to measure my first plant in green light, and it looks like it may have stayed the same. And I need to measure my plant in the red light. Man, it looks like it maybe has even shrunk. And then that plant in the yellow light, whoa, look how tall it's gotten. So to make this a real true experiment and figure out if my data really does measure up, I need to measure my plants and record it in a chart, a table, or a graph.
So you take your data and you have to organize it. All good scientists organize their data so it's clear to read, and that's going to help them form their conclusion. So plant number 1 with a green light didn't really grow. So let's say that that was 8 centimeters. Our plant 2 with a red light shrunk. It measured 4 centimeters. And plant 3 with a yellow light measured 13 centimeters. So now I take that data and I form my conclusion. Remember, all good conclusions state their hypothesis, whether their hypothesis was true or not, and why. So let's go back to our hypothesis. What was my hypothesis? If I use a red light to grow a plant, then it will grow taller than plants in other lighting. Well, does my data support my hypothesis? No, it does not. All right, so my hypothesis was not supported. If you notice here, the plant underneath the red light was only 4 centimeters. It actually decreased in height. It shrunk on me. So my conclusion is that my hypothesis was not correct. Underneath the red light, it actually decreased in height. However, underneath the yellow light, the height of the plant increased. All right, guys, you've got a quiz tomorrow, so make sure you study up tonight. Good luck. If you have any questions, make sure you see your science teacher in the morning.